Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build NBA edition. I'm Kevin Roberts, getting ready to go over this nice DraftKings main slate. Goal is to help you win money. Going solo today, no Taylor. He is a bit busy, so hopefully I can help point you in the right direction. Of course, if you join our Discord, you will get access to our core plays, some of Taylor's favorite GPP plays, and all the extra help you need, whether you just want us looking at your lineups or you have specific 1v1, 2v2 questions, whatever the case may be. The Discord is free and we are there to help. You can hit the link at the bottom of this video and come join us. You can also subscribe to the channel if you have been checking out these videos, or if this is the first time here, you can subscribe and get access to all of our other videos and get them, get alerts to those videos in the future so you don't miss them. Speaking of which, I just did an NFL DFS video for Championship Week. You can catch that at the end of this video as well. So if anything I do here helps you out, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and come join us in Discord. And of course, if we've already helped you win, or if we help you win tonight and you want to come back and drop something in the Super Thanks tab below this video, that would be much appreciated. Either way, I'm here to walk over the slate and help you win some cash. The way we do that is go position by position and break down the top plays of the slate and look at who we might want to prioritize and also comment on ownership and that kind of thing. So let's get to it. Point guard, lots to like as usual. Point guards loaded. SGA put up 54 real points last night. Helped me finish 5th in the tournament. Hopefully, helped you too. I'm okay with SGA again here. I think if you look at the position itself at point guard, I don't think he's super necessary. His projection is, sorry, I was on the wrong projections. We want to go to our projections here. This projection is really good, actually. It was really good yesterday, too. He was leading, I think, the position by 9 fantasy points. So he looked like a really, really good play. I mean, Utah Jazz going to Utah Jazz, right? So he looked really good, and he ended up getting 81 fantasy points. Pretty unlikely he's going to do that 2 games in a row. Dallas not as welcoming as the Jazz are necessarily. I don't want to say to fade SGA just because he went off last night. He's capable of doing it again. Just probably a little bit less likely. A 10.5K, totally fine price, especially for that projection. All things considered, he's too cheap. So if you want to play SGA, you can. The only issue is point guard is pretty loaded, and there are other studs on the slate. I will just say going in, I kind of think this is a studless slate. There's just way too much mid-range value, and there are nice guys in like the high 8K range that basically are studs. And we'll just see how it all shakes out. That said, anytime you have somebody like SGA, like if he's really going to be 1.7% owned or sub 10% owned, that is interesting. So SGA looks great if you have the funds. Trae Young comes in with the second best projection. Right behind him is Curry. I think all things told, Curry looks the best here. He faces the Bulls. The Bulls are not a good defensive team whatsoever, and they are a very fast-paced team. So Curry looks awesome. I mean, Trae Young gets the Raptors too. This game has a really high total and only a 4.5-point spread. So Young looks good. He was absolutely horrible yesterday. I liked him as he was one of my favorite GPP plays yesterday against the Pistons. He got 31 fantasy points. So you could certainly take that as a sign that I gave out bad advice yesterday, but that will happen. Our core plays honestly have been on fire, but Trae was not a core play. He was a GPP play, and that is what happens with GPP plays. Sometimes they just don't work out. That said, Trae Young looks good again at 9.6K. James Harden gets the Wizards at 9.5K if he's back in the saddle. He missed last night. I would imagine he is back, and he would look really good against the Wizards. If I'm going to spend up at this point, though, I'm probably looking at Curry or Harden. They just have the best matchups. They both project really well. Curry's pulling a lot of ownership, so you certainly could consider a pivot away from him if you don't want to eat the chalk. There's Scotty Barnes. He's also even chalkier, but he looks really good at 8.7. There's Dame Lillard. He's not that far below. He's not going to pull much ownership. And, of course, there's Harden, who's $700 more, but Harden looks really, really good. Nothing wrong about that whatsoever. Down we go. Tyler Hero looks good at 8.3K. No Jimmy Butler. We know he gets a boost without him. The matchup with Milwaukee is not amazing. The Bucks have been routinely blowing teams out. They can be pretty good defensively, and it is on the road. But Hero just has such a usage boost without Jimmy, and he's only 8.3K, so he is definitely on my radar. His projection is not blowing anybody away, though, so that is going to probably keep his ownership in check, and right now he's completely overlooked. So at that price point and with that usage, I think Hero is a really good tournament play. Kyrie Irving was a really good GPP play yesterday. Taylor gave him a shutout, and he had like 50, I think he had 54 fantasy points, 55. So he's been really good lately. Obviously, no Luka still. So Kyrie on the second leg of a back-to-back set, not quite as appealing because he's got those creaky knees probably. But he is only 9K. And the projection's okay. It just doesn't blow me away, especially for a matchup at OKC. Just not feeling that whatsoever. I would very much rather just go eat chalk with Stephen Curry or Scotty Barnes, or pay up a little bit more and get James Harden, or drop down and play hero. De'Aaron Fox looks decent. Nice price. The problem is De'Aaron Fox's projection doesn't blow me away. And at Denver, not really the most amazing spot. Denver's not really that bad of a matchup, honestly. But the projection just doesn't wow you here. I think the price is nice on Fox if you want to go there, but I'm not feeling super compelled to go get him. I think Hero would be the better play between the two. Derek White is projecting very, very well. Taylor did mention in our Discord that the Celtics guys in general might get boosted up here because a bunch of the bigs and Drew Holiday missed last night's game. So depending on what happens with them, I think Derek White could look amazing at 6.8K. But if Drew is back and everybody else is back in, then obviously the projections are going to change. As things stand, like if all those guys remain out, Derek White will look really, really good at 6.8K. So just keep an eye on that situation. Same can be said for Peyton Pritchard right here at 5K flat. He busted last night, but if Drew were to miss again, he would look really good. He would come in with a nice 33-point fantasy projection at 5K. That would be a smash play against the Lakers. Just keep an eye on what happens with Boston, though. Nobody else here really stands out. Austin Reeves is overpriced against Boston unless Brow or Braun sit. I don't want him at 8K. Certainly a GPP play, I guess, but I don't think you need to do that. Malik Monk, when I looked at the slate early today without the updated projections, Malik Monk did look pretty appealing at 7K because he has been crushing. Look at this. Just all green, man. He's been crushing. So I think he's an okay tourney play at 7K as long as he doesn't get ownership. But if he's going to be chalky, 25% ownership right now due to the price and how he's been performing, I think I'm out if that's going to be the case. So let's see who else really stands out. I guess let's see because Portland has a lot of guys. I do not want to really target Blazers against the Magic. I will say that. But DeAndre Ayton, Anthony Simons, Tumani Kamara, all these guys are questionable. Donovan Kling is already out. So if those guys are all out, we could certainly look at Scoot at 6.6K. But I don't really want to do it. The prices come up. It's a road date with a good defensive team. Who they're getting bodies back. Franz Wagner should be back tonight. Goga, I think, is doubtful, so that actually could help the Blazers a little bit. But Orlando's an 8-point favorite. The Blazers have a 102 implied total, and without all those extra guys, sure, Scoot's usage would spike. But we don't know for sure if they're in or out at this point. I just don't think I would want to do it, to be honest. Alonzo Ball is a fair value at 4.4K. Should be a pretty good game environment with the Warriors. Nice 228.5 total. His viability would depend on what happens with the other Bulls guys. Let me take a quick look. So you have Kobe White, who is not expected to play in this game. You have Ayo Dosunmu, who has been downgraded to questionable. So those guys are both probably out. So Lonzo looks really good. I don't have a problem with Lonzo whatsoever. It's possible that the projections get boosted here and he looks a lot better. But obviously he's gonna look good if both those guys miss. I'll go right back up to Josh Giddey here. He feels a little bit underprojected without that news. If we know for sure that those guys are both out, Giddey would see a bump in at 7.1K. Would look pretty good. He has a really nice ceiling. We know he's capable of big splash games. So I would have interest in him for sure. Cole Anthony at 6.5K, not really into that, especially with Franz Wagner back. I do think Anthony Black at 5.4K would still be in play if Cole Anthony sits. Franz would still be limited, so I don't think we have to completely rule out other Magic guys if we have interest in them. But he's coming back. He's going to probably play 25 minutes right away. Let's see here. Kason Wallace, OKC, cheap guys. I think they're okay. Don't really want to get to them if I don't have to. KPJ would look amazing at 4.4K if Harden again is out. And honestly, if anybody else is out, Kawhi, Norm, all these other Clippers that are in there, mostly the perimeter guys, like Zubac being out really doesn't help Kevin Porter Jr. that much. But if those guys are going to miss, he would look awesome and probably be a core play at that price. But even with them back, he's going to get 20 plus minutes off the bench probably against the Wizards in a possible blowout. I think Kevin Porter Jr. is still in play no matter how you look at it. Bob Carrington, 4.1K, not a good matchup with the Clippers. I don't really want Clippers here, but it Could be a fast-paced game. If the Clippers let them stick around, Carrington at 4.1K is not the worst thing. I'll even give a shout to 6.9K Jordan Poole. I think he's up here somewhere. Yeah, here he is. Decent projection. It's just not a good spot on the road against the Clippers. I don't love it. But if you think the game can stay close, Jordan Poole is a solid GPP play for sure. Davion Mitchell, 3.K. Like he's getting starts. He is playing a little bit, 24 to 29 minutes lately against the Hawks. I think he's okay enough to keep in the player pool. But I kind of prefer, the main Raptors guys or Bruce Brown or Grady Dick, which we'll touch on in a little bit. Drew Holiday, if he's back, I don't know. I don't like the minutes projection here. I think that just might stem from yesterday. But he didn't play, so certainly it's possible he wouldn't be limited. 4.7K against the Lakers, not the worst thing to do, but not something I'm probably going to entertain personally. Probably does it for now at point guard. All right, over to shooting guard we go. Jaylen Brown. Again, I said the Boston guys are a little bit projected over. So I would temper expectations there. Also, Jaylen Brown rolled his ankle in an overtime game last night. So his availability in general is in doubt. But if those other guys miss for Boston at 7.8K against the Lakers, he looks amazing at the moment. I would just wait to see updated projections. Right now, I have him as a core play based on this projection. But if that shifts, obviously I have to adapt and I would bump him down. But I mean, Jaylen Brown at sub 8K is always going to be a viable option, regardless of where the projection's at. He has exhibited a lower floor than you'd like, but we know he still has that ceiling. And if bodies are out for Boston, mainly Drew and Porzingis, that would be very good for him. If his projection does take a hit, that's going to make Tyler Hero stand out as one of the better options at shooting guard. Perhaps also his ownership will inflate. But honestly, right now at these prices, these guys look really, really good. Derek White, like I said, looks good. Zach LaVine's okay in a positive game environment overall for the Bulls and Warriors. He's going to benefit from Dosunmu and Kobe both missing this game. So him and Giddey and Lonzo Ball all look like really solid plays. His price is coming down just enough for me to be a little bit more excited to play him. And obviously, if Jaylen becomes if suddenly Jaylen has a bad projection or Jaylen is just out, I think Zach LaVine at 8.2 starts to look a lot more appealing. And obviously, you have that small forward eligibility too, which is always nice. All right, let's see here. Norm Powell, let me just check the stats of the Clippers guys real quick. If there's any update. Harden's still questionable. Kawhi is still questionable. So these guys all missed yesterday. So it stands to reason that most, if not all, of their main guys will be back. If that's the case, Norm is not a priority for me. If Kawhi is out, Norm would look great at 7.4K against the Wizards. Peyton Pritchard, he's in play always and forever just because he has a solid role off the bench. But I would prefer Drew to be out for me to go get him at 5K. Chris Middleton's okay play, 5.6, decent usage. He's restricted. He's got a minutes cap, low, not the biggest ceiling in the world. So I'm not really eager to go play him, but he is in play. Grady Dick is probably one of the better values of the slate as things stand, 4.2K. He's at risk of not always closing the game, but he's been okay lately, 20 plus fantasy points in each of his last 4 games. He's getting decent minutes. I mean, I would rather he gets 30 plus minutes and we know he's going to close the game, but at 4.2K, that risk is kind of baked into that price. Matchup with the Hawks is awesome. If he can get 30 minutes, I think he can hit here. What else could we see? The OKC value, Lou Dort, he's in play too. Don't really want to do that. Rather go Grady Dick. There's also Buddy Hield at 4.5K against the Bulls. All the Warriors look really good tonight. Just keep an eye on who actually starts and who is out. Like we know Draymond and Kuminga are out. So that is good for somebody like Buddy Hield. But Podziemski is not officially out for this game. So even if he's back in a limited capacity, that could be less than ideal for some of the other Warriors guys. So just keep an eye on that. Moses Moody obviously would be impacted by that too at 3.9K. He's also in play. Christian Brown's getting pretty good minutes for a guy who's only 4.3K. 25 minutes last game, 35 the game before. Like a little bit inconsistent in terms of the minutes, but he's been producing. Pretty sure the last game against Philly was a blowout. So that explains that. It looks like he's kind of back to big minutes. So if we can feel pretty good about 30 plus minutes at 4.3K, I like that. Plus the Kings are not good at defending the 3-point line. And anytime you have Jokic healthy and in the lineup, he finds Christian Braun pretty well and easily. So I like him at 4.3, solid value for sure. Bruce Brown, I mentioned before, 3.9K, $300 cheaper than Grady Dick. Going to get a few less minutes, certainly less stable in general, but he's going to get decent usage off the bench, and he is going to get 20 to 25 minutes against the Hawks. I think that looks pretty good on paper. Those Wizards guys I mentioned, like I'm okay with taking shots on Bob Carrington and Corey Kispert, guys like that. They're just cheap enough that they remain in my player pool because they can explode off the bench. I liked Corey Kispert the other day. He had 26 fantasy points. He's just been solid, getting good minutes off the bench. And obviously, anytime the game blows out, which it certainly could against the Clippers, he could get a little bit more run and soak up some extra usage too. Not seeing anybody else. So keep an eye on the Mavs. So yesterday, Quentin Grimes was a really good. He was a core play. He looked really good on paper. It didn't really pan out, but he is still only 4.9K, and we know in a close game he'd get monster minutes. Yeah, 13 fantasy points in 36 minutes. What was going on there? I don't know. Matchup with Dallas or with OKC is terrible, but if everything stands as it was and like Clay and all those other guys remain out 4.9K, he would be pretty good. Everybody else down here is kind of just rolling the dice. You have some other Clippers values like Terrence Mann. It's just fully dependent on what happens with LA, but I think their guys are going to be back. All right, small forward. Jason Tatum is almost 10K. Makes sense. I mean, he's facing Lakers here. Good matchup, good projection. As it stands, not going to be very owned. So he's a solid GPP play. Not really a priority for me, but everything honestly looks pretty good for him. If you want to play Tatum, I have no issue with that. Jaylen Brown looks better right now, but again, we're going to have to wait for the projections to update. I still think Brown at 7.8K is going to be a good play no matter what the projections say. RJ Barrett, though, is probably going to be the best play here at small forward. He looks amazing. He was a core play the last time he played, and he got into foul trouble and still had 35 fantasy points in 28 minutes. He's been crushing. Nomiano quickly still for Toronto. Gets the Hawks, who are a really good matchup. Nice paced game, no defense, high total game. So he looks awesome once again. You can also go to Scotty Barnes, but they have like the same projection, and Barrett is 1K cheaper. Naturally, Barnes is going to be less owned, and Barrett's going to be very chalky. I'm okay eating the chalk there, but if you want to get different, you can pay 1,000 more for basically the same play. Albeit like Barrett is, the projections here have him with a slightly higher ceiling. I would argue that Barnes does offer the higher ceiling, but Barrett looks awesome. He is my preference. Chalk be damned. Denny Avdia, you got to monitor the injuries for the Blazers. If some of those guys are back in, Denny could go to the bench. And even if he doesn't, he just could lose some of the usage. But in theory, at 6.9K, he is still a pretty good value, especially if guys like Simons end up missing. I just don't really like the matchup in Orlando that much. I already talked about Levine and Powell. None of these other guys really stand out. I think Jaime Jaquez at 5K with no Jimmy Butler. He will be interesting. I do need him to start to play him, but 5K is a really good price, and he's coming in with a pretty good projection. A little bit of ownership, but I don't really mind that. DeAndre Hunter against the Raptors. Nothing wrong with that. I probably need Jalen Johnson to miss to feel really good about him. Let me double check what the status is here. Jalen Johnson is not on the injury report, so I think DeAndre Hunter's okay, but that's still a little bit to pay for a guy who's only going to play about 30 minutes. 6K. I think we can do a little bit better than that. Okay, let's see who else we got here. Nobody else really stands out and calls me. I will say, wait, did I miss him on here actually? Oh, Andrew Wiggins. Yeah, I did miss him. So Andrew Wiggins, the projection is not as good as it's been in recent slates, but I love Andrew Wiggins on this slate. 6.1K for a guy who's been crushing it, and he gets the Bulls, who are a very good matchup. He did have this bummer against Boston, but the Bulls ain't Boston, okay? Beyond that, when he's had a good matchup, 40, 59, and he even did well against the Wolves, which is not really a great matchup. Very good usage rate. He's doing a lot of stuff, scoring the ball well. No Dre or Kuminga. So even with Podziemski possibly returning, I still like Wiggins here at 6.1K. I think that would more impact the likes of, Moody or Buddy Hield. So Wiggins looks really, really good. Is he a full-blown priority yet? No, but he's definitely very, very high on my radar. All right, over at power forward. We have Giannis leading the way with a 61-point fantasy projection. He looks awesome. Heat are not really the most friendly matchup. You do have Bam in there, but without Jimmy Butler, they're not as scary as they can be. And he's at home where he tends to excel. I got nothing bad to say about Giannis. I will say, though, he is still pushing 12K. And he has not exhibited like the consistent high ceiling that we've seen in years past. Like, he still definitely has broken some slates, but there's a lot of games in there where he only has gotten like 48, 50 fantasy points, something like that. Like, there's a lot of like okay games. Two big, nice 73-point games lately, but it's just he's not always going to hit the way you need him to at that price. So I think if I'm going to pay all the way up, it's going to be a Jokic slate for me, or I'm going to go down and get somebody like SGA again, especially if the ownership is low. Tatum is there too. Honestly, like, look at the price difference and like the projection difference. I feel like Tatum is just a better play. Point per dollar, he definitely is the best stud at this position, and also a small forward. So Tatum is pretty sneaky here. If Tatum is going to go completely overlooked against the Lakers, I think he looks pretty damn good. Problem is, with Jalen questionable and those other injuries for the Celtics, I feel like that is going to change greatly, and Tatum could end up being kind of chalky. If he's chalky, I don't really want to do that because, like I said before, I love the mid-range and high mid-range on this slate. But Tatum, the more you look at the slate, Tatum does look pretty damn good. I would prefer him over LeBron. He has a better projection, a little bit cheaper, just an easy call. Banchero is my favorite power forward, though. 8.4K, good projection, great projection, really. Against the Blazers. Franz Wagner does come back to eat into his usage a little bit, but Banchero is going to keep getting a little bit more, a little bit more minutes here and there. It just looks awesome. The only issue is that could be a blowout for sure. So I wouldn't be shocked if he did not get his full allotment of minutes tonight. Jalen Johnson, Jalen Williams, they both look totally fine. Jalen Johnson's really good projection for 8.6K. He's right there with Banchero. I prefer Banchero, but Johnson against the Raptors is just as good, really. Maybe just play the ownership game there. Neither of them are really picking up that much ownership, which is a little bit crazy, but they both look good. Jalen Williams has been banged up. He did play last night. Wasn't great. 35 fantasy points. His price is very low. The matchup is beatable. Projection solid. I don't mind going back to Jalen Williams if nobody else wants to play him. But if I had to pick one power forward to play on the slate, it is Banchero. And yeah, so like Wiggins down here, 6.1, still looks good there. PJ Washington, bad matchup, but good role. So I don't mind PJ Washington at 6.6K. Nothing wrong with that. Kyle Kuzma, he's been really inconsistent. Don't really want to do Kyle Kuzma. The price is good. Not a good matchup. Projection is not amazing either. Let's see who else stands out. Aaron Gordon remains limited. 4.2K. Don't mind a shot on him at that price, especially when we're looking at guys like Grady Dick out here. It's not the worst thing in the world, but he does remain limited. So obviously the ceiling is not super high. All right, that's probably going to do it for me at power forward. Nobody else that really stands out. I mean, like, if the Clipper guys are out, you could look at Amir Coffey again and any of those other Clippers value. All right, center Nikola Jokic leads the way with the best overall projection. Currently coming at 15% ownership. If that were to stick, I would gladly go over the field on that. Would not be shocked if it goes up considerably. 12.2K. He's not so expensive that I wouldn't mind just playing him over Giannis or Anthony Davis or Sabonis. Like, I think if you're going to pay all the way up in the 10K plus range, I think just go get Jokic. I don't really think you have to do that on this slate. But that would be my preference if I'm going to go up that high. Not to say Davis is a bad play or Sabonis is a bad play. I think if you're going to pay up at center, Sabonis is actually pretty sneaky here because the Nuggets are not a very good rebounding team. So 10K flat for Sabonis in a game where he'd very much be needed with Jokic there, I think is a solid tournament play. I just think in general, if I'm going to pay up here, I think it's Jokic. Zubac, if he's in against the Wizards, looks awesome. Just keep an eye on his status in general, and then obviously make sure he's not going to be limited by any means. So 7.2K against the Wizards, that's a good projection. He looks great as long as he's in. 8.2K Vooch against the Warriors. Like, they don't have anybody really that is going to slow him down. So if he wants to wreck, he can and will. 8.2K is a really good price for his projection. Don't mind him either, especially if Zoo is out or limited. Pirtle, though, is the call there. Pirtle really disappointed last time he fouled out in 19 minutes. So that was a bust. That sucked. But now the Hawks are a really good spot. He projects really well. Good price. Love him. Also like Ware. I think center is going to be a popular build with all the nice lower mid-range options, but I really don't mind playing into that. These guys are chalky, but they both look really good. Khalil Ware has been smashing 42 and 45 fantasy points. He's in the starting lineup getting major minutes and no Jimmy Butler. So I'm just going to keep going back to the well there until it busts at this point, or until he gets priced completely out. Bam, obviously extra usage with no Jimmy, but now that Ware is coming in there and stealing usage, and also Bam just hasn't been playing very well, I'm just less interested in Bam, but obviously overlooked at 7.6K, not the worst turning play. Gafford at 6.5K, he's been a monster for sure, and he's been needed. Look at this stuff. But OKC is not an easy draw whatsoever. So at 6.5K at OKC is probably where I draw the line. I prefer somebody like Onyeka Okongwu and even Wendell Carter. Those guys look really good, but Onyeka is $700 cheaper than Wendell, and he's $900 cheaper than Gafford. So he just looks really, really good. I think one of my favorite ways to go at center is going to be pairing some combination of Jokic, Pirtle, Ware, and Onyeka. That's probably what I'm going to do. That 4-pack of guys. Not that you can't go other guys too, like Vooch and Zubac. Obviously, they are good too. I just think if I'm going to pay up, it's going to be Jokic, and for the most part, I don't want to go up over 6.2 Pirtle. Jovic should get extra minutes with no Jimmy. He looks like a fine value. I think I would just go to Jaquez or Ware though. But that's probably what everybody else will do too. So Jovic will definitely be a solid GPP play. TJD, I think Kevon Looney got hurt. Let me double check. So obviously we know Draymond Green's already out. Kyle Anderson's banged up. And Kevon Looney, he got hurt yesterday and got ruled out of the rest of the game due to an illness. So if he's out, Jackson Davis is going to look a lot better, and the Bulls are a very, very good matchup for Big. So 5.5K, that is another guy I would enter into that mix of the guys I just talked about. A little bit lower on the totem pole for me in priority, but certainly still in play. I think that is going to do it for the most part. Yeah, it is early, no doubt about it. So definitely news is going to drop. I'm actually going to check out the news as I wrap this up. But so I'd keep an eye on some of those injury situations that I mentioned. I'm going to look at it in real time before I sign off here, so I can have a bit of an updated look. Let's see. Yeah, nothing. Oh, okay, that's pretty good. Clint Capella out. So Onyeka already was on my radar. Onyeka looks really, really good now, so no problem getting to him. Let's see if anything else really major. Jaylen Brown does say he expects to play, so maybe not a big issue there. Kyrie Irving uncertain for Thursday. That is worth keeping an eye on. So not a good matchup at all, but we can certainly look to Dinwiddie or Grimes then if that ends up being the case. All right, that said, hopefully this helps you out a little bit, breaks down some of these options. News is going to hit in some fashion in the next several hours and completely change the slate. That's just what happens. That's what our Discord is for. So come join for free. Come chat it up and get headed towards some really good plays. We'll give you a core to build around and give you any advice. Like if you are not sure, if you're a beginner and you're not sure what to do, what contest to enter, how much to enter, if you have any other questions, we're there to help. So hopefully this video sets you up for success. If it does, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and come join us in Discord. Thanks for watching and good luck.